What is up, everybody? This is the Wild Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Heskett, and this is episode 92. Today's guest is Laren Leach. She's back on for a third time, and we're going to talk about her new pre- and postnatal certification. It's not really new. She's had it for a little while, so it's not like she got this and now we're talking about it as an expert. She's been practicing it a little bit with a bunch of stuff, and then she is actually in the third trimester. She's actually, her due date's my birthday, December 18th, so fingers crossed, might be sharing that birthday. But we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff that is important if you're a woman listening and you are wanting to become pregnant. Maybe you are pregnant, or you gave birth, or you never took care of the things you're supposed to take care of after you gave birth. That's going to be the things we talk about on today's podcast, and kind of like how to properly train your core, not what you usually see. And I know I've also said on past podcasts, like, hey, like, this is you might be the first guest to do a repeated show, or, well, Laren is actually the only person, she was the first and she's the only one for the third time around, but she was definitely the first one for a repeat podcast person. I just don't always consider her a guest, and she's a teammate. I'm like, oh yeah, technically Laren. Technically she's a guest on this podcast, but I always just consider her a teammate. Anyways, I learned a lot. If you pair this with the episode with Nicole Hart that we did over the summer, you're going to learn a lot for pre and postnatal training and how to prepare and what to adjust. I'm sorry if you hear my dog. She's acting like a nut, of course, when I'm recording, not any other time, just when I'm recording. But for stuff that's going on with your body and knowing what the right things to do to prepare to have a baby and then recover after having a baby. What's up, Laren?
What's up?
All right. Third time on the podcast. We have, since last time, you have gotten a new certification. So we're going to talk about that today. But also, if podcast listeners don't know, some exciting news is that you're due what, December
18th. So
literally my birthday.
Oh, that's right. That is.
Yes. So another baby boy.
Yeah.
So perfect for pre and postnatal, because you're probably going to be doing some postnatal stuff.
Been utilizing a lot of the pre stuff as well.
So audience already kind of knows you. Obviously, if you are new to Laren and you want more of a background, just go and listen to some of her previous ones. I will try and link them if I remember when I actually post this on Monday to put those episodes in. But if I don't, they're there. You can go find them. It's one like the first one. I think it's like episode 4 or something, 3 or 4.
Yeah, and then the other one was several months ago, so they're pretty far back. So.
It's the one's pretty far back. Yeah, the early one's easy to find. I just scroll all the way to the bottom of like Spotify, find the link, grab that. But the other ones are like, what episode was that? I don't remember. Somewhere in the hodgepodge middle. Anyways, so my wife's obviously postnatal. We have listeners who are either thinking about having another baby, actively kind of in your situation where they are pregnant, or they've had a baby, or maybe just never took care of anything in post baby. So I don't know where you want to start. Do you want to start like prenatal and then we'll go to postnatal, or what do you feel is best for talk about the subject?
I can tell you why I was interested in it. We can start there.
Let's go. Why did you get this cert?
So it was always on my list of things once I finally decided, I want to pursue personal training and, strength and conditioning, stuff like that. Because let's face it, women's health is so underserved, especially in the pre and postnatal realm. You laugh because your wife has probably vented to you about this multiple times. And you were in the gym for a long time. But I remember after having my son, it was like, and I was active prior and had an active job and things, but no one tells you some of the important things that are very helpful to get ready for the funness of labor, regardless how you bring your child into the world, and the aftermath of whichever option happens to get them there. I just remember sitting on the floor trying to get up, and I was like, oh, there's no core there at all. This is a fun time.
Yep.
And So I was doing stuff and like, 6 weeks, you can go back to whatever you were doing. It's like, but my hips hurt, my back hurts. You're not like, there's so many things, and your poor OB is not going to be able to tell you the correct stuff to do. And like, there are some trainers you can trust at the gym that are going to know, like, kind of roughly where you started and things like that. And then some of them are like, oh, everyone has the same 24 hours in their day. You should be able to do this workout, and
Yeah.
all the pressures of get your body back and blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, what do we do? So I looked up a few. Some of them are crazy, crazy expensive. So I went with just the fitness specialist one and not all the extra things, because a lot of it came from my nutrition cert anyway. So I was like, well, I know nutritionally, but it talks about all the basic stuff on building back your core and how important it is. And regardless, anyone listening, how long it's been since you've had a child, you can still work on your core. Like, you can still improve things. There are some instances where people need further help, like surgery and things like that, to correct certain things, but you can improve a lot. And peeing your pants is not normal. Like, you can do
Thank you.
things to not do that. It's not, yeah. I always think of Adam Sandler in that movie when he goes back to elementary school. It's like, you're not cool unless you pee your pants. I'm like, it's opposite. You should not be peeing your pants all the time.
If you do a jumping jack and pee your pants, that's not a good thing.
Right. Like, you should be able to get on the trampoline with your kids or run around, sneeze, and not be like, oh no. Like, there's ways to correct that and improve that. Sometimes it takes more than it takes a combination of a pelvic floor therapist and working the correct workouts, learning how to engage your core and everything. So that's why I got started. I was like, I need to know for myself. And around a lot of women, a lot of friends are like, yeah, I'm just like living a poor quality of life because I don't have a core and all these things. It's like, what? So
Yeah.
that's what led me to pursue it, and just all the crazy information out there. I'm like, okay, you got to be like fighting against get your body back, have a belly only pregnancy. I'm like, you don't have control where the weight goes when you're growing a human.
No, your hormones and everything else
Yeah.
control all of that. So you don't. It's interesting because I've worked with so many women over the years, and
Yeah.
so many of them are just like, they blow it off like, up. Once you have kids, this is normal. This is your life.
Great. That's what
You do anything
it
and you
tells
pee your
you.
pants.
Yeah.
Like, that's not. And I remember a while ago seeing Girls Gone Strong, and they had
Yeah.
a program. They're like, yeah, that's not normal. If that's happening,
Yeah.
that's not okay. That means you have pelvic floor dysfunction. And usually it means you're also going to have other joint issues, like because you have no core, your back always hurts because your low back's
Yeah.
taking the brunt of everything. Like, oh, that's a
Yeah.
problem.
Like, your low back and your hips frequently hurt after having a kid because you sit a lot more in awkward positions.
Yes.
And so, like, you're half asleep and you're like, even as fathers, you're like, oh, okay, my back hurts because I fell asleep awkwardly on the recliner. Or,
That's me like every other night with Victoria. Like,
yeah.
okay, it's time for her somewhere between 2 and 5 o'clock feed. And then like the other night, my wife literally is like picking her up out of my arms. I like woke up, started like, I don't know
Yes.
how, like we just fell asleep like that. Like, I don't know how long it
Fine.
was, but
It's fine.
like,
You survive. It's
oh, my
okay.
neck.
Yeah. As long as you don't drop the kid, it's okay.
She's never just the bottles woken me up a few times of like this, and you fall asleep, and then the bottle thumps on the floor. Holy shit.
Yes, it's always a fun time. But as you know, it wreaks havoc on your low back and your hips, regardless if you have any previous injuries or issues.
Yes.
And, I'm starting to experience that now. Some things happen sooner the second go around when your body starts producing relaxin. Your hips are like, I don't want to do what I'm supposed to do. You got to get up. You're like, whoa, wait. Sometimes that still is happening afterwards as your body's regulating hormones and everything and trying to figure out, oh, wait, we're not growing a person anymore. Like,
Person's out.
Yeah, the person's out. We can go back to what we were doing. And like, your pelvic floor can be dysfunction. It can be tight. It can be weak. It can be all of the above. And that's what people get mixed up. Like, I had this discussion not too long ago with someone, and they're like, yeah, I thought it was a good thing that mine was too tight. I'm like, nope, that's a problem. Like, you have to, and like, learning how to properly breathe is very important. because it's all connected. I never knew it was connected till someone taught me how to breathe. And once like once
Yes.
you learn how to actually engage your core when you're doing a squat, a deadlift, you're like, oh,
Makes big
everything's a
difference.
core exercise, isn't it? But you're much more stable too. So
It's much safer. But that's where
yes.
people are like, I feel like I need to do abs. Like clearly you're not doing free weights right, because if you
Yeah.
go heavy enough with especially like goblet squats or front squats or anything like that, like my core is on fire by the end.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
about
and
you, but
yes. And fun fact, if you go to pelvic PT, they'll make you do goblet squats. So
heavy goblet
most of
squats are
them
the
do.
worst.
Or heavy is whatever they have in there. Not all places PTs have heavy quote unquote weights, but they'll have you do goblet squats because it's good engagement for everything.
It is. They
And
when I got my kettlebell cert, the positioning was per like, why does this fire up your core? He's like, how you're supposed to hold the kettlebell. If you took away the kettlebell and went horizontal and on the ground, you'd be in the plank. I was like,
yep.
oh, it's a plank position. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. Then the
And
light bulb goes off. You're like, oh,
yep.
okay.
Oh, that's why if I hold like this and not like with your elbows flared up super high, like
Yeah.
that's why this works so well. Like my core's engaged, my shoulders are. Oh,
Well, it's
um,
kind of like you work with an in-person client and you like slightly tweak how they're holding something like, oh, I feel it. I thought it was easy beforehand. And you're like,
or they
and
go, oh, now it's too light, and you're like, okay, take away the 30. Here's a 50.
yeah,
They're
here you
like,
go. Yeah.
oh crap.
Yeah. Well, and like I briefly taken a sabbatical from teaching group fitness right now, but I have been teaching, and I always sounds like my core work in the section is always going to be boring to you because it's functional things. It's like bird dogs, dead bugs. We're going to hold some planks. We're going to do some side planks and things like that where you really have to like breathe and engage. And they're like, oh, we're not going to do mountain climbers and all these things. I'm
Ugh.
like, no, we're not. Not that they're a bad exercise. I don't have a place for them in my class that I teach. Like my goal is not that. So
That's my core work is pretty much just if I do core work at all, it's dead bugs, bird dogs, planks, plank variations. Very rarely do I do anything else because like I'm not competing bodybuilding. I don't need like thick abs right now. Like
right. Yeah.
nor and personally I just hate working out abs. Like my least favorite thing to do in the world is abs. That was what
Yeah.
clients would be like, do you have good ab workouts? I'm like, bird dogs and dead bugs because
To me, like
I
I
hate
think
it.
it's a good ab workout, but like by society definition, it's probably not. It's not sexy, it's not glamorous. But if you do it correctly, they're like, oh, this
Yeah, if you
hurts.
do
I'm
them
like, yeah, if you're
correctly.
engaged, like the power press is such a boring exercise,
Yeah, that's
but
another
it's so
favorite.
hard.
You do it
So
right, it's rough.
yeah.
And if it's still too easy, there's so many variations.
I'm
It's
like, all
like,
right, is it easy? Let's scoot out a little. Especially if you're doing it with a resistance band,
yes.
instead of like the cable machine. Like, let's scoot out a little bit or move your arms in a circle,
Yep.
like stir the pot. They're like, wait a minute. I'm like, said it was easy the other way.
Yep. You can have
So,
rotation, you can lift
yeah.
overhead, you can do it kneeling, half kneel. Like there's so many
Yeah.
variations of the pal off press that
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you think this is easy?
Yeah.
Let's just step it up. Oh, I just want to do my mountain climbers. Nope, get those out of here.
Yeah. It's like, nope, we're going to pick up heavy dumbbells and do farmer carries, like our overhead carries and stuff.
That's Stuart
Um,
McGill is big on that with strongman with like training their abs.
yeah.
He's known. Do you know who Stuart McGill is?
I've seen a little bit of his stuff, not a ton of it.
So world renowned with like low back recovery. And
Yeah.
so with strongman and powerlifters, he would just do like suitcase carries, like one heavy
Yeah.
weight by your side, use that, or like goblet carries, stuff like that. Lots of heavy carries. You're
Yeah.
not seeing like flutter kicks.
Yeah. No flutter kicks,
No flutter
no like
kicks, no
weird
crunches,
stand on your
sit-ups.
head. And so,
No. So what are some of the things you're doing right now? Because you are almost 2 months away from your due date. So what are you doing right now to get ready?
so a lot of like, I've moved my core section to kind of my warm up. I just threw it in with my mobility work. So I'm
I
doing
do the
like
same
bird
thing.
dogs,
I'm
dead
not I'm not
bugs. Yeah.
expecting,
Uh,
but I do it because that's the only time I will do it.
well, but it helps, the right muscles in my back that I'm wanting to hit. It helps my do breath work. And then I moved to a lot of hip things like abductor rocks.
Oh, nice.
Sometimes it feels awkward, but I'm like, okay, like when you're on like all fours and you like breathe in, like hug your babies, I think are what they're actually called. I don't know. Not so weird, but if you watch it, like, cause you actually, it's like, now you look 30 weeks pregnant. Now you look 15. Like it just depends on like, but that concept of like pulling everything in is actually very helpful for your core because there's a lot of pressure on your core when you are pregnant, regardless how far along you are, because everyone shows differently. I get asked frequently, how far along are you? Because I'm tall. So it's not like a huge basketball sticking out of my shirt. You know, it feels like it, but they're like, they expect you to be like way out past your feet. I'm like, no, I'm tall. I'm 5'10". Like, it's there, I promise. You know, like that's, but someone that's 5'0", you know, they show a whole lot faster.
My wife showed it very quickly.
Yeah. But things like that are very helpful because it's teaching you how to engage and through that breath work. And as you learn, you kind of feel your pelvic floor. It's supposed to work and compensate with your diaphragm. Like you start feeling it kind of go up and down as your diaphragm does when you inhale, exhale. But it also helps you prepare for delivery because a good pelvic floor that can not loosen. Nah, I forgot the word. But anyway, not
relax.
Weak or tight. Relax. Yes. Thank you.
Got it.
So it's helpful when you're about to either potentially push a child out, or if you have to have a C-section, your recovery is a little bit better because your core was halfway stable before they sliced it all open. So like that's but I'm doing those, and I'll do some Pallof presses because they're nice, a good way to get everything fired up. You can do them because they're still safe to be done, but you can do like twisting type core work. I just don't have the desire to do it because I have a foot wedged in my ribs most of the time. So
that should feel real good. Just grating on your inner rib.
I'm like, no, we're not going to do that today. But most of my work's like mobility stuff is still my low back and my hips because they're staying pretty angry. Banded lateral walks because I'm having a lot of sciatic issues that are just fun. There. They go away once the kid's not there. So it's
so that stuff all kind of like helps you prepare for delivery by getting the hips stronger, getting the core stronger, and then probably with your body understand like, hey, we actually use these muscles, able to recover a little bit faster on the back end as well, regardless of whether it's C-section or not.
Right. And ideally, anyone who is newly pregnant and new to fitness, you can work out while you're pregnant as long as you were cleared by your physician to do so. Like I had to take a hit and like decrease my weights because I got put on restrictions. So that was a fun, like, well, what am I going to go do at the gym? But I still get a solid full body workout in. I'm doing the same things. And that's like a lot of people tell you can't be on your back when you're doing certain exercises and stuff. Like that becomes a comfort in what you've been cleared to do. Like I'm not really doing any flat bench pressing because it's uncomfortable right now, but I'll do incline bench press.
I can't breathe.
It's like I can't breathe, so therefore I can't. So I'll just do an incline one, so it's less pressure on your back when you lay down. Like there's certain tweaks and modifications, but there's also people that do full on CrossFit the entire time until they have a kid. It just depends on how you feel, but as you're active throughout your pregnancy, your recovery on the back end is a lot easier, quote unquote, because you have that body awareness and you have some still stamina and things lingering in that strength where it's like you're not necessarily going to bounce back and want to like step on bikini stage anytime soon, but like you're going to feel better. Like you're going to get cleared faster to walk, light weights, things like that, because you get cleared to like carry just your baby for like the first few weeks and you're like, cool, because I don't have a toddler or life to take care of.
Well, when you're working out, your body is also used to dealing with inflammation and recovery and all those things. If you just don't work out, like, I'll just stop working out for these next 9 months, like your body it still knows what to do, but it's not used to doing it. So it's going to take longer. It's like if you don't work out and then you go hit leg day really hard, you're sore for 2 weeks versus if you do it every single week, like you're sore for a few days and then you're good.
Yeah. And you also keep that mental toughness that you need as a parent.
That's true. Yeah. God, you need that.
That's just, it also helps anxiety and like your mental place in general, because you still have to take care of you when you're pregnant. Like, yes, you're growing a person, but you are also a person. So you
Well,
have to take care of yourself. And that helps you on the back end, still prioritizing you, maybe not as much, because sometimes you have to choose sleep over a workout.
that's true.
But it gives you, like, you've learned, like, because as you go through pregnancy and like random things are coming up, you might not work out 6 days a week. It might go to 3 days a week or 4, or whatever's working at the time. It's easier to implement that as you get coming out of the clouds of newborn life. Like that.
Kind of have a routine and everything set
Yeah.
up. You know what to do. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
easier because I don't think I worked out for a month after Victoria was born. Like it.
Yeah.
No,
I'm like,
no, I worked. I didn't touch a barbell though for a month.
yeah.
Like I just had kettlebells, clubs, and maces, and that was all I did. Because like that's all I could. I couldn't. I was like, to go in the gym, warm up, do something. Like, no, I'm just gonna grab like my kettlebell and just like get something done in the next like 25 minutes.
Yeah. And sometimes, but that helps you know that it's okay to have that
Yep.
flexibility of not your full on barbell program that you love that you just can't do right now. Like, you would have
Yeah.
injured yourself if you tried to do that
Yeah.
on 2 hours of
And
sleep.
I didn't have the
So,
baby. I was just dad. I was just tired
yeah.
from taking care of newborn and toddler. So
Yeah.
as a woman, yeah, you just pushed out a baby. Like you need time to recover, and it might not be your pre-pregnancy program right away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Chances are it won't be. Um, I do there's a myth, obviously, that still going around some places, and the older generation still believes that like women are porcelain dolls when they're pregnant. And if
Yes.
you lift anything, you will break apart like a Lego person.
I don't know how many times, like, I'm pregnant, not disabled. Like, I'm not meaning that in a bad way, but it's like literally, it's okay. And you're like,
Yes.
be careful. I'm like, do you realize, like, I've been a nurse for a long time, and it's like, you realize pregnant nurses move patients all the time. Like, that's, it's
All the time.
okay. And there's people that work in construction and other blue collar jobs in other areas. It's like, you're not breakable just because you're pregnant now. Everyone has a different journey and has had different experiences. So, like, not going to fault anyone that's very cautious while they're pregnant, because things have happened. But as long as you are feeling okay and your doctor has cleared you, you can work out. That's
Yeah. If you're high
basically, like,
risk, doing a plyometric workout, probably not a good
no, you can do
idea.
the correct workout if you're
Yeah.
cleared by your doctor. So,
I there was anthropologist, or I forget, a while back they found um it was human remains from way back in the Stone Age. And it was a pregnant wife, and the reason I bring this up is that she fell off a cliff. They don't know
oh
why,
gosh.
but mom fell off a cliff while pregnant, and what they found was the remains of the baby were still in there. The baby was fine. The amniotic sac protected the baby. So when people
Yeah.
are like, "Oh my god, I can't do something because," obviously very sad to say, but it showed like, oh, like literally fell off a cliff. The baby was perfectly fine. If mom survived, the baby would have been fine. So you're not a porcelain doll. Like you're not going to be a Lego person, just break apart if you like lift
Yeah.
something heavy. Nature has built in like a literal airbag basically to
Yeah.
protect your baby. So you can do things.
Well, like, the amniotic sac holding your baby is kind of like the lining around your brain and your skull, protecting your brain. Like, yes, you
Oh, that's a
should
good way to
shake
put
it
it.
around, but like, if something does happen, it's protected, like your baby is. Now, obviously, a direct hit to your abdomen could cause some problems, but generally, it causes more problems to mom than it
Yep.
does. Generally, it sends you into preterm labor, and then that's a whole nother. But the
That
baby is generally okay. So,
So doing mixed martial arts, not ideal, but going and getting like a
yeah,
basic workout with some like
yeah,
leg press and stuff is fine.
right. Doing some functional weightlifting, or you can still pull heavy weight when you're
Yeah.
pregnant, as long as you're cleared to. Like, that's, you can do Pilates, you can do yoga, you can do bar. Like, there's all kinds of workouts you can do that work for your desires and your goals. But your goals have to shift also when you're pregnant. Like fat loss is no longer your goal.
No.
Like when you get that positive test, okay, fat loss goes off the window. It doesn't mean you automatically go to bulking season necessarily.
Not that easy.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could if you can eat, like, you know, that. My goal just shifted to maintenance. I'm going to lift as heavy as I can and see what in a real, we'll go into a cut later at a better time to see what muscle I got to gain while I was pregnant. So your body doesn't shut that function off of building muscle just because you're growing a person, but you're definitely not in cutting season anymore.
That's a good point. A lot of people will be like, oh, you're eating for 2. And really, like the calorie requirement, I think it's only like 300 calories above maintenance. It's not much.
It's barely that. And that's really like later on, like the first trimester. Is like there's no extra calories.
Yeah, it's
which if you think about it, it's like most people aren't eating very much anyway. So like that's depending on stuff. And then like second, it's like I think it goes up to like 100, 150. It may be 300, and it's not much at all. And then like afterwards, when you're nursing, there's like, oh, you're going to lose all this weight. It's like maybe
appetite.
But your appetite goes up because you need at least 500 extra calories if you're trying to breastfeed to produce enough milk and water, you know, but 500 calories is not a ton extra when you think about it.
No.
Like it's easy to do, especially if like I live in the South and everyone brings you food when you have things happen, which is awesome, but it's very heavily buttered and seasoned well.
So like... we got lots of Italian pasta. So
yeah. It heats up well.
All the cheese.
Like it travels well. It heats up well. You know, it's
great, except for it goes above your maintenance. That was a lot of people think like, oh, eating for 2, so I need double the calories.
Yeah,
which can also be really bad for baby.
It can
eat way too much. Obviously, I'm not going to speak for everyone's cravings because you all have the craziest freaking cravings, but my wife literally like eating half a watermelon one sitting, like I can't stop, like crying on her ball bouncing.
Like, and... it's like worse than a period craving though. It's like it's in your head. You're like, I have to have it. Like have to have it until you get it like satiated. It won't go out of your head.
You
like,
guys
terrible.
It's upset. I'm like, I don't understand, but it's not worth the argument, and you're gonna get it anyway. So here you go. I think I just like left. I'm going upstairs. I don't forget what her craving was this time around. That was Amelia. Victoria, it was something else. I'm blanking on it. Wasn't watermelon. I don't remember.
Was it something citrus? I feel like me and her talked about it. It was like oranges or something.
It was oranges. Yeah. Okay, she was eating like 3 or 4.
Yeah, because they're like we're in that time where they weren't quite in seasons. They're so hard to find good ones.
Yeah. Yes. That's where now she has become an expert on picking out watermelon.
Yeah. So
because of it, she now knows like how to find the perfect watermelon because of meals. So there's something good because I'm like, what's all the steps you do to like figure out a watermelon? I'm like, you pick one out. She's like, see this, you tap on like, okay. That was your pregnancy craving, and now we have the skill.
Hey, benefits. You never get nasty watermelon.
You never get it's
either
rare.
Good or gross. Like there's
or I picked it out. Usually I picked it out, or it's few and far between. Just like the entire, no matter what you picked, it was going to be bad.
Oh yeah, like there's.
I think there's one other craving she had, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. I'm not had any crazy consistent the same thing multiple times this go around, but if there is one, it's like, I don't know, a couple months ago, it was like a root beer float. Like, and you can't find those everywhere. So like went to the grocery store and got my ice cream and my root beer. It was like, I have to have a root beer. A root beer float is so bad.
That was it. It was root beer. She's like, oh, I need root beer. Like, what? This is weird.
Yeah, it was like 8:30. And Daniel's like, where are you going? I'm going to the grocery store because I'm not going to be able to sleep until I have a root beer float. It's like, okay.
Literally. Before my wife ever got pregnant, everything is like these, can't you just wait till the next day like a
No,
normal no.
you
Like
can't.
when you live through it, like nope, it's just not worth. So my thing with it was just like find the best quality root beer
Yeah.
we can, like the healthier types of root beers, quote unquote, and we're gonna go with that. And it, even though she had the cravings, it like limited her because we would buy as like the 6 glass jars or 4 glass
Yeah.
jars. So she's like, I can have one a day instead of like
Well,
a 2 liter thing a day.
I was about to say, like, and it's not like, yeah, you're honoring those cravings, which you're gonna have to do, and other people you should learn to honor those cravings. But it's like, I'm not chugging a 2 liter of root beer and eating a gallon of vanilla ice cream every day. Like, I'm just fixing like a small one, just enough
Yep.
to get the taste and like, okay, we're good. But on the flip side, you have those cravings that you can't get out of your head. You'll like fix a meal and then you're like, I don't want this all. Like, I'm gonna
Yes.
throw up if I eat it. Like, not just like, oh, I meal prep this for the week and now I'm tired of it. Just like, no, I literally can't put this in my mouth. Like
That was
that's
salmon.
yeah.
Salmon. We were in the middle of salmon season. I'm like, oh, we
Oh,
can get
that's so sad.
fresh salmon. I got it a couple times, but she's
It's
like,
like,
I
yeah, I
will
can't do it.
throw up if I smell that. So I would like make it on the grill and
Yes.
then bring it in, and it's like windows open and stuff. And we would make her something different, but did not want. So I'm like, really? I'm like, we do this every. Nope. Okay.
Yep.
Not gonna
Your
argue.
hormones do weird things to you for those
It
like
is
and it's
wild.
not just for 9 months, it's for like several months later too. It does weird things to you.
Yeah, because
So
your body's not
um,
regulated yet. You have if you nurse, then your appetite and your cravings also continue because now you're,
yeah.
I think we did the calculation. It's something like 60 calories are in like every ounce of breast milk.
Yeah, it's something like that.
There's like those calories don't magically appear.
Yeah.
They come from you eat your body fat and then you eating. So if you're producing lots of milk, guess what? There's calories in there, and that's coming from someplace. So your appetite increases. I send
Yeah.
did you watch the newest Grinch that came out a few years ago?
Probably, but it's been a while.
There's a scene at like the beginning of the movie when he has to like go to Whoville, is like eating all the things, like how did I run out of food? Like just eating is like this bowl of spaghetti. Like, there was a meme yesterday. I said this to my wife. It was like someone's like, I'm gonna lose all this weight
Yeah.
breastfeeding, and then it's like appetite.
Well, like, and I just remember with Cooper, it was like the biggest, like, mind blown experience. Like, however much weight you gain during your pregnancy, ACOG standards are going to tell you 25 pounds is healthy. Anything above that is unhealthy.
Ha.
Do that with what you want. You can't necessarily control that if you're relatively eating a balanced diet, moving your body, living your life while you're pregnant. Your body will put on what it wants to put on and put it where it wants to put it. You have zero control of that. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yep.
And so, and then when wherever your weight's at when you have a baby, you do lose a lot of weight in the hospital because you delivered a baby, a placenta, and lost a lot of fluid.
A lot.
Your fluid volume is fluid, it's swelling, it's blood. There's a lot of things you lose. So you could be down 30 pounds when you go home. Am I still there?
Yes, you're still there.
Okay, sorry. I'm getting a phone call. Like, no, go away. So, but you could only be down 15 pounds. It just depends on what your body's doing with all of it, how much fluid you were holding on. But then you're like, okay, this is a good start to my back to after having this kid, is what society tells you. It might go back up again in a couple of weeks when your hormones flip again. Like it's the biggest like mind thing. You're like, what is happening? And then
just
you like
not worth going on the scale.
No, don't hop on the scale. Don't box up your maternity clothes. You're gonna have lots of stretchy pants, or shorts, because it's like, oh, this doesn't fit, but this doesn't fit either. And you're
That's
like,
my wife
I just
right
need
now.
some clothes. Like it's the weirdest thing. Or you're like, I remember being to my pre-baby weight, but nothing fit because everything was misproportioned. And like having a meltdown, Daniel, my husband, was just like, go to the store and buy some new pants. It's like, just go.
Yep.
So he's like, I like Sheldon, they're there. I don't know what to do for you, but please just go buy some pants that fit. So, but there's lots of frustrations there, and like everyone experiences them, but nobody likes to talk about it. You see the influencers selling their program, like, I've had multiple C-sections and multiple kids and I have flat abs. I'm like, you might, but
that depends on genetics. Like I've also seen, what's cool now is social media is for the most part slightly getting better. It's at snail's pace, but slightly. But a lot of these influencers who have now gotten to the age where they're having kids realize like genetically, some of y'all are gonna get stretchy skin.
it happens.
You're gonna have
sometimes.
excess skin, and they're just like, "Hey, this is reality." So some of them, I think, like Paige Hathaway was one.
Yeah.
And there's been a few others. She's
I don't
just
know.
like the
Kim
first
French,
one.
she shares a lot of her workouts
Okay.
and stuff, and she'll show like she's had multiple kids. She goes, yes, a body that looks like this in the gym also looks like this, and just like you have loose skin, and it's okay. Like everyone will have a different amount of it. It depends on your body and
genetics, how big you got. Like if you have twins or triplets, there's a good chance you're gonna have it. But some people bounce back like a rubber band, and it's like, how do you not have any stretch marks? Like it's genetic. You can't really control it.
Yeah. But it can be very hard when your hormones are crazy and you're seeing all this stuff and that's not where you are.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not really thinking logically.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks, hormones.
Yeah, and like you get targeted on your social media too. Like I'm sure your wife still does. Like,
oh yeah.
All these it's like, how do you even like what? Why? I don't even look up this stuff. Why is this coming onto my Facebook or my Instagram? So.
Yeah, because it's a rehab happened again. Like you had a newborn. It's like why? Because I stopped in a handful of things, and now it's like the ads and the algorithm's so wild. It's like, how do you know that I'm a new dad? Oh, because probably I like shared one thing or liked one thing. They're like, you like the thing that's
ordered diapers from Target.
Yeah. And now it's like, oh, it's on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is fine, but it's like you said, you're now being targeted by people who are, it's more on women than men right now. Cause like new dad stuff, like there's not that much. There's some, but for like the get your baby, like pre-baby body back, like those people are doing ads for that, and that's being pushed out.
And there's a ton of, I do these 3 things and now my waist is snatched. I'm like,
oh, Jesus.
I can't stand that.
Here's a waist trainer. Like those don't work.
Well, and like some of the ab or core work they're doing is amazing core work. And like, yes, that will eventually do it. But like, it's not just in the gym, it's your nutrition too. Like,
yes. What ab work can I do to get a smaller waist? Eat
the kitchen.
Less food in the kitchen.
The kitchen.
Eat the proper diet in the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, and you have those cliches. Oh, sleep when the baby sleeps. Like I've been trying to, but
you'll get nothing done. Also,
right?
Sleep when the baby sleeps. Except the baby sleeps at weird times, or when you are busy in the middle of something, like when you're driving home. Sleep. Somebody did a thing.
Oh,
of like,
let me sleep while I'm driving.
Yeah, sleep when the baby sleeps, and it's like they're like walking the baby, and that is like the baby falls asleep in the stroller, and they just like collapse on the ground. I saw that when they just lay down. Yes, they just lay down in public. Car just like, and you hear like it crashing, and there's, I'm like, it sounds good in theory, but reality is like you're not going to, because it's like my wife pumps, so it's like she has to clean her pump stuff, or I have to help her out with it. You have to feed the kid, and then by the time it's like, especially with a toddler, and that was more challenging. Like that's fine for round number 1, but if you have more than one, it's like my wife pumps, then we feed the baby, and then it's like take care of the toddler. Maybe the toddler needs to be fed now. It's either breakfast time, snack time, or lunch time, or snack time, or dinner time. And then it's like, oh, you get 15 minutes before, guess what? She has to go back to pumping. Somebody has to watch the toddler. The baby's crying. Oh, now it's time to feed the baby. It's just like this.
It's like, oh, the toddler's figured out it's bedtime, but I can mess it up because it's fun and I don't want to go to sleep.
Yes.
You're like, cool, we have 2 small children awake. And
yes. Yes.
Um,
So n- number one, it sort of works. Number two, that if you have a yours is a little bit older, but if you have
yeah.
a true toddler,
Yeah. He also, if he knows you're up, he's going to be up too. So it's fun. And
I saw this in my wife last night. There is the scene from The Dark Knight where the Joker like shows up in the nurse outfit, goes, "Hi."
yeah,
It's like when you put your toddler to bed and they come
it's
downstairs.
so true. Like, I don't
Hi.
know if Amelia's ever gotten up, but like you wake up because you feel someone staring at you and they're like right here in your face and you all but punch them and you're like, ah.
See, we put a gate on her door. We can't close her door. We put a gate
Yeah.
there, but you just hear her and the clicking of the doggy gate, and you just and then you hear,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
if do we let her scream it out and go back to sleep? If we don't, then there's a good chance she'll wake the baby, and then both of us are up,
Right. And
and
my,
then
like,
they're feeding
yeah.
off each other.
Yeah. Ours is like, is it worth just one of us go lay down there with him because he'll be quiet and go to sleep? Then somebody's getting sleep. It's like, yeah.
But the things you think of as a parent, we have not gotten into our daughter's bed yet, and we're trying to keep that, but like we'll sleep on the floor. Like we have blankets on the floor. We sleep right there. And then you wake up and you're like, oh my God. Because there's because
Yeah.
of her age, there's like we have air mattresses, we have camping, like the blow up like
Yeah.
pads, but we haven't used it because she will destroy them. Like you're not inflating that at like 2 a.m. Like,
No,
but she'll
you're not.
destroy them other
Yeah.
times. So you can't like
Yeah.
I'm on the carpet. It's like, oh, this won't be too bad. You wake
It's
up, you're like,
awful. Don't do
I'm
it.
definitely not 12 anymore.
Yeah. Like Cooper's in a twin bed, and I don't know how many times me or Daniel has fallen asleep because you're like laying in there, like reading him a book or something, and he just like covers you up. Like
And you
he'll
just
just
like,
let you sleep.
I'll just rest my eyes for a minute. And you're like, what time is it?
Yeah. So it's like we should have put a full size bed in your room. That way there's space. But
Something.
yes, you'll do lots of things for kids, but you have to survive. But Cooper didn't sleep more than 2 hours at a time until he was like 6 months old. It was awful. Like, I remember working in our busy cardiology clinic, and I'd be like, I'm gonna need you to repeat that order one more time before.
Victoria's
Um,
sleeping till
oh gosh,
3 to 5. So
yeah,
she goes to bed around 8ish, sleeps till 3 to 5 a.m. Like we are very lucky
yeah. It
most of
was
the time.
we slept a lot in the recliner. I know someone will listen to this and be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so terrible." I had to go back to work.
Yeah.
So,
We have a recliner.
like,
We
a
have,
recliner and lots of pillows. We slept like
yes,
this because it worked.
we
But
have 3 chairs upstairs, one for each bedroom. It's like
yes,
to go to either one. But what we found was the chair we got on sale. It's a good quality chair, but it's when you add a toddler on top of it, the one in Amelia's room, your tailbone falls asleep. So
oh
she went through a phase where she would only fall asleep like on you. And I'm like, this is
yeah,
terrible. Same thought though. I need sleep. Like
yeah.
she's
Sometimes you
not
got to
going
do
to
it.
bed. Like it's been half an hour. I don't give a shit anymore. I need to get
Yeah.
sleep, get on me, cover up with a blanket. And then
Yes.
it is like you wake up 2 hours later and I'm like, my butt's asleep. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God. It's like the cushion. We needed like
Yeah.
some support underneath or something. Cause I'm like, oh, this is no longer comfortable.
Yeah. We ended up with an extra recliner somehow. And so it's still in Cooper's room, but it's going to go to our nursery because it's like, I don't want a rocker. I want the recliner that's going to be comfortable to sit in
Yeah.
and all those weird hours of the night. It's just,
Yes.
yeah, kids are fun. Like, I don't want anyone to listen to this and be like, oh my gosh, like you just do what works for the time and
Everyone's
sleep. And
it's rough. It's also like the good times are really good and the rough times are really rough.
yeah.
Is
Yeah.
the total opposites. Like you are like right now, morning routine is so stressful for me. I'm like, oh my God, I need a fucking
Yeah.
drink at 10 a.m. in the morning. But that is like the good times are so good. You're like, oh, this is I don't know why anyone would not want kids. So it's like you're just like almost bipolar of like roller coaster. This is amazing. This is the worst thing ever. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
That's kind of how like pregnancy feels. You're like, oh, this is exciting. And it is exciting and it's cool. And unfortunately, many people don't get that opportunity. So I'm not knocking that, but it's also miserable and uncomfortable. Like,
My
you
wife is
know,
like, those people who say pregnancy is beautiful
they're
are
medicated
fucking
well.
lying.
They're medicated
Yeah.
properly is what I think. I'm like, all right. Where
She's
yeah,
like,
you're lying and not
this is
being
some
honest with yourself.
bullshit. My
Yes.
pregnancy is not beautiful. I have acne all over because my hormones. And then I'm like, you do you, love.
Yeah, that's like they're like, okay.
So couple minutes left. We have not talked about postnatal at all.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that because I think you helped my wife out a little bit with that. And then obviously you will be going through that. So walk someone through like they've had a baby, or maybe they realize like they had a baby a while ago, but they never did any work that they should
Yeah.
have done. What would be steps someone would take after having a baby to fix their core and their pelvic floor?
So it would depend on, like, are you peeing on yourself? Like if you're having those type of issues, you should get into pelvic floor therapy first because they can examine and evaluate certain things. But as far as your workouts go, walking is helpful. And then you start getting to the gym and doing weights. Like I wouldn't say start jogging if you're having incontinent issues. It's not a good time for you. Or going to like a kickboxing class, things like that, because you're twisting, you're bending, you're jumping. That's not going to be great for you when your core is not super strong. Like, doesn't mean you can never do those things. It's like there's a time and place if you enjoy them. Just your basic strength workout. You can simply go to the gym and pick the upper body machines one day and then pick the lower body machines the next day if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. If you don't know anything, if you have zero plan, nothing, and you're not like wanting to invest in a trainer, invest in coaching or any type of fitness program, shameless plug for us, we can do all that for you. But yes. But you just start with simple basics of lifting weights, and you're going to want to warm up. You could warm up by walking on the treadmill, and then go to some of the core exercises we talked about. Bird dogs, dead bugs, glute bridges are all things that are helpful to that deep core muscle. And you're going to be practicing. You inhale, and it's not just like that short inhale. You're inhaling. Or you ever hear someone talk about you're like breathing into your stomach? It never made sense to me because I'm like, you don't want air in your stomach, you're going to aspirate. Like that's where my nursing brain went the first time it was told to me. I'm like, that's a problem. But it makes sense because you're like filling up that whole space. And then when you're exhaling, you think your belly button, you're not just sucking it in, you're pulling it in and up. And then you start like you practice that breathing while you're doing those core exercises and stabilizing your core. And then you can just lift your normal styles of weights. You can do squats, you can do deadlifts, you can do lat pull downs. You might not be squatting with a barbell or doing deadlifts with a barbell. Use a kettlebell, use a dumbbell. The cable machine is great for some of those things. There's options there. Like you just start. I would highly recommend working with somebody if you're very new to weightlifting of any kind or have had a lot of core issues after you've seen pelvic PT. Hire somebody that's not going to get you off on the wrong foot. Like that's not going to give you like a CrossFit style workout. Not to mean you can't do that, but that's not the time for it. Like you've got to heal some things first, build some strength and some core stability back up first. Because that's the first. And simple things like standing at your kitchen sink washing dishes. You're not taking an Instagram selfie of your butt, like tuck your hips under you. But if you think about it, a lot of people, you stand there, you're lazy with your posture, but it makes a difference. Like you tuck your hips under so your ribs are stacked over your hips, your core is engaged properly. So your back's not going to hurt quite as bad. If you have an old sink like ours, it is because it's too low. But we're fixing our kitchen soon. I'm going to raise it up quite a bit higher, actually.
It'll make life much easier.
Yeah. But just those simple, basic things. It's not sexy. It's not glamorous. But even if you're following the social media influencers, that's the workouts they're doing. Like they just glamorize it a lot better than what you expected if you don't know the terminology.
That's the reality of social media in general. It's
just but like they do this and like they're doing a reverse plank. That's all they're doing. And that is one of the best things early prenatal to do because it's a lot easier on your core than an actual regular plank.
Yep.
But it's like they're showing the things they're doing a variation of a glute bridge. They might be marching or, doing hamstring walkouts, but they're doing the basics. But they're like, this will get your waist snatched. not like, oh, it actually builds your deep core muscles. And that's what actually pulls your waist in to give a more corset look. Also, I would say build your back, because that's how you get the best hourglass look, is bigger lats.
Yes. People don't
But
realize that. They're like, oh, like I don't fit, I don't want to get bulky. Like I don't fit into my shirts anymore, not realizing like the optical illusion of like
yeah,
larger lats, and not like bodybuilder large, but just like
right. Just like lats, like
lats
they're there.
are going
Yeah.
to give you a taper, and then you have your
Yes.
hips. So it's like, oh, when you do, you taper the
Yeah.
upper body, and then you have,
But right.
oh,
And at the same time, your waist can only be so small because you have lovely things called organs inside your core.
yes,
And like you don't want to remove them. So like your waist can only get as small as what your body physically can hold inside of it.
yes.
Like you're not going to squish your intestines and your stomach and your liver and all that. Like it's going to take up the space it takes up.
The only way you can do that is wearing like the waist trainers, and that is
Yeah.
highly dangerous and not recommended.
And it's actually really terrible on your core because you don't
terrible.
engage any muscles.
That's what nobody talks about. It's like,
Yeah.
actually, that's doing the work of your core. So your core becomes
Right.
so weak that you can't really
Right.
do anything.
Which is the
without it.
opposite and the misconception of the weightlifting belts that people see.
Yes.
That's a tool to help you learn how to breathe into it so you don't blow your low back out.
Yeah.
Like that.
And I use it all the time because my back injuries with squats
Right.
and deadlifts, but it's breathe in to create tension. Like,
right.
that,
but you're
that
also
breathing,
lifting heavy weight.
Yes.
Like you're not
Yeah, I
pulling
don't
100
use
pounds.
it for
like
my 135-pound squat. It's like,
No.
okay, anytime we go over 275, I throw the belt on.
Yeah. But you could if you had some back stuff you were working through, as long as you've learned how to breathe correctly. But it's a misconception. You know, you see people in the gym with one. I'm like, okay, you either have a back injury or someone just sold it to you and you don't even know what you're doing with it. Like it's so tight, you're not properly breathing. Like that's
exactly. Or people just walk around with it on. They're like doing bicep curls. I'm like, why do you have that on for like curls? Take that off. It's not tight enough. Like mine is tight that it's uncomfortable to wear. So if you're to use it properly, like it is uncomfortable. Same thing goes like anytime you see someone with like wrist wraps or knee wraps, like if they're walking around with it, they're not using it properly. Mine get on so tight that if I leave it on any longer, I lose circulation.
Yeah, and that's how it should be, because it's a tool.
The tool to create stability, not to be like, here's my fashion design. Like those are the sweatband things from the 80s that go on the wrist. Wear those because that's what you're using the wrist wraps for.
Yes. But I mean, like those are all tools to help you build that stability and also protect yourself. Because if you're lifting above like 250 pounds, you should probably have some support for your knees, no matter how healthy they are. But
yes, knee sleeves are wonderful. Knee wraps. I've moved away. I used to only do knee wrap, but then it becomes a tool that I relied on way too much.
Yeah, I could see that.
It helps you so much out of the bottom that if I didn't have them, and then it's like a pain in the. Have you ever used them?
I've used just the sleeves before, but not the wraps.
The wraps are such a pain in the butt to take on and take. Like if you're doing multiple sets with them, like it's like 3 minutes to roll it up. Then it's like
it reminds me like when you wrap
minutes.
your hands for like boxing gloves. Like it's annoying, and you got to take them off. You got to put them back on and everything. So.
Except it's every single because you'll lose circulation to your calves and your toes. So you have to take it off each time. And you can't walk properly. So like the one set I have, I can't do a full squat with less than 225 on my back.
Yeah.
Like it's that much tension. So it's like every time you pop that off, you have to roll it up tight. If you don't roll it up tight enough, it doesn't work properly. It's a pain in the ass. So I stopped using them for a little bit. I'm like, if I'm going to hit my PR, I'm going to need to have them again. But I will use them eventually. But I'm going to not use them for a while. It also makes warming up way longer because you're going way heavier.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Actually, like I have like 4 more warm-up sets. This is taking too long.
Yeah. But like, there's things like I highly recommend anybody to utilize a trainer or a coach or something. Because hopefully if you don't use us, hopefully they're good and they're not going to steer you in the wrong direction and get you on a program that's not good for you. Because You don't need to be doing mountain climbers, flutter kicks, crunches when you're postnatal.
No,
It's
please
terrible
don't do
for your
that.
core. It's the wrong pressure and everything. Like it's not great. But
Yeah.
that's what a lot of the programs have in there. If you just buy it off of online, it's all kinds of heavy cardio, jumping jacks, all these things that can serve a place in your program, just not, you know, early on, or even years down the road when your core is still not great. So it's
Yeah.
not.
I worked with plenty of moms where they didn't, their kids were in college, but they were still like, do one
Yes.
like line hop or something. And they're like, oh, running to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But this is just part of being a mom. Like, that's not.
Yeah. Or they still have pretty bad diastasis recti too,
Yeah.
sometimes years later, because it never kind of went back and you were never told the things to do to help it close up, and the things you're doing are making it worse. So
Yes.
there's, but
We don't want to do that.
yeah.
Well, if you're not going to work with a coach, one thing you can do is follow Lauren. So, and then maybe reach out with some questions that even if
Yeah.
you buy a program of like, does this look right? So where can people find you?
I'm mostly on Instagram. I do TikTok occasionally, but it's TikTok. So
TikTok Messenger also doesn't work super well.
it doesn't work super great. So Instagram's the better place. Is it Coach _ Laren _ PWC is my handle.
Is it PWC still?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't changed mine yet.
I was gonna just try to put Coach Laren, but someone has it out there and I couldn't find something else to go with it. So I just left it.
Surprise
like,
me. That's
yeah.
I messaged Alex. I'm like, I put it on the podcast here. I'm like, a couple episodes ago, like, I don't know what my name is. If you have an idea, send me. Nobody sent me any ideas.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't come up with something to put at the end. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna leave it.
I'm not touching it. I'm like, but I don't know what to change mine to because I want to get rid of the PWC.
Yeah, I was like, if I could just figure out how to take that off, we'd be fine. But I'm not creative enough to come up with a good name.
Well, you're in third trimester, so your brain's functioning at like 75%.
That is also true.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, make sure to reach out, give Lauren a follow, and then reach out to her. And then, as always, if you are going through, you're either trying to become pregnant, you recently found out you're pregnant, or you just had a baby and you need help, you can message myself, Lauren, or Alex Allen and talk about what Lauren can do to help program for your core and getting you, one, to have an easier delivery or recover after pregnancy.
Yes.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We're getting close to episode number 100. We have 8 more episodes to go. With that being said, as always, please leave a quick review. Go tap 5 stars if you really enjoyed the episode. And if you have the ability to, on your podcast platform, write a quick review if possible. Now, if you're in a car listening, like I listen to podcasts, a little hard to write, I understand, but try to drop that 5-star review, or always go and share on social media. And then also make sure you follow, if you don't follow Lauren and I on social media, go and follow us so you can get great information from Lauren and then also get updates with the podcast if you follow me. Thanks for tuning in, guys.